Previously on Jimmy Kimmel Live.
From Hollywood, it's Jimmy Kimmel Live. Tonight, Julianne Moore, Lynn Howerton, and music from the Hives with Cleo and the Cleto. And now, Jimmy Kimmel.
Thank you for joining us here on a rare rainy day in L.A. You know, you can always tell when it might rain. You know this, Guillermo, because everyone who works here comes in like a hooded slicker and then a perfectly new pair of galoshes. Never been used, but we've got a whole office full of Gorton's fishermen today. Hey, here's something for those of you who might be looking to add a pet to your home this Christmas. Rover.com released their annual list of the most popular pet names in America. The top 3 names for cats are Norbert, Soju, and Snoop, which is wrong. And how is Snoop a top cat name? It's like Garfield being the top name for dogs. It's not the name. And the top name on the dog side is another Peanuts name. Charlie is #1, followed by Max, which dropped to #2 after a decade at the #1 slot. #3 is Cooper. It's weird. These dogs have the same names as my kids' friends. I don't know what happened to Buddy and Scamp and Boner. Where's Boner? Where did Boner go? One of the new entries on the top dog names list is Kelsey, as in Travis Kelsey, which is especially popular among white women in the middle of a full emotional breakdown. Kelsey and new ones are Kelsey and Leonardo Dog Caprio for Israel. There should be a 3-day waiting period before you're allowed to officially name your pet. Today in San Francisco, the big summit between President Biden and Chinese President Xi. Here's the, there they are, just a couple of golden bachelors hanging outside the fence. Mr. President, that's a Citibank you're standing in front of. Ahead of the meeting, Biden said, we're not trying to decouple from China. What we're trying to do is change the relationship for the better. In other words, for those of you who don't follow international affairs, we're Chris Martin and China is Gwyneth Paltrow. And we're just trying to raise TikTok together, you know? Things are shaky right now between the U.S. and China. This is the diplomatic version of a married couple dropping the kids at the in-laws to spend the night in a hotel, see if they can get things back on track. And I think these guys have known each other for a long time. President Xi is just happy to meet a president who doesn't call his country China. So Biden last night weighed in on the furor over recent comments by Donald Trump vowing to root out what he called the vermin in our country, which is everyone who opposes him. Joe pointed out that vermin is a specific word with a specific meaning that echoes the language of Nazi Germany. And I know a lot of people have been comparing Trump to Hitler lately, but there are some major differences between, for instance, Hitler was married to a woman who loved him, okay? and I will say, I get why people believe Trump is intentionally using words the Nazi used. I just don't agree that he is. In order to know what words the Nazis used, you'd have to read, okay? You'd have to have some basic knowledge of history. Trump thinks Frederick Douglass is alive and doing an amazing job. He thinks Lincoln invented the town car, okay? So he isn't echoing Nazi terminology. He's coming up with it all on his own. And you have to give credit where credit is due, you know? The new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is in a pickle. He's only been on the job 3 weeks. He's already getting heat from members of his own party over the bipartisan deal he made to keep our government running. Turns out uniting people is one of the most divisive things you can do in America. The hardcore conservatives are dead set against this, the Democrats' liberal agenda of making sure the country has a functioning government, because if the government keeps running through the end of the year, it means Republicans have less time to focus on the issues that really matter to their constituents, like proving that Santa Claus is white, for instance. So, and by the way, the bill they're so mad about only keeps the government open for another 9 weeks. which is nuts. You shouldn't have to figure out how to fund the largest economy in the world more often than you wash the duvet cover on your bed. There's so much fighting in Washington right now, real fighting, threats, kidney punches in the hall. Yesterday, there were 3 different altercations between 6 different members of Congress. The one that the meat brains are really salivating over was former MMA fighter, now Senator Mark Wayne Mullin of Oklahoma, who challenged the president of the Teamsters Union to a fight during a hearing. Now, Mullin is very proud of himself. He's selling T-shirts. He's making the rounds on all the old folk outrage outlets.
I'm wondering, when you got up, you know, Bernie Sanders was banging the gavel. If he got up too, would you have gone at it right there in the hearing room?
I would have probably jumped over the dais at that point. He's had a history of running his mouth. He's never been called out on it. And I think, I'll tell you, when I stood up, you should have saw the look on his face. It was like, holy crap, I messed up.
Oh, I wish we could have seen the look on his face.
Yeah. If only there was some technology that allowed us to see what happens in a televised public hearing. That would be... And then once he was done with Newsmax and Fox News and everything else he did, he stopped to tell his story to an Oklahoma-based podcast.
You want to make sure the other guy will never want to fight you ever again, because it's kind of a win-win at that point. But we need to move from an almost
By the
fight.
way, I'm not afraid of biting. I will bite.
Biting?
I'll bite 100%. Yeah. I mean, a fight, I'm going to bite. I'll do anything. I mean, I'm not above it. And I don't care where I bite, by the way. It just is going to be a bite.
I'll bite, I'll kiss, I'll slowly caress his hair, whatever it takes. It's called Oklahoma justice. What's going on? Everyone is crazy. You see the wrestling match that broke out at the Warriors-Timberwolves game last night? Within the first 2 minutes of the game starting, there was a fight.
And so we're scoreless. We'll stay 0-0 the first 2 minutes. And then look at Klay Thompson and McDaniels. What is going on with that? Wow. You've got a full-on fracas going on. Draymond came in to defend Klay. This got out of hand very quickly.
No, it's a downright kerfuffle is what it is. These players are behaving like Congress people.
Here's a look at it. So they're kind of coming together. Klay's boxing him out, puts his hand on his jersey. Jaden McDaniels puts his hand on his jersey. Now they're swinging each other around. Gobert gets in there. Draymond's got him in a headlock.
The reason Draymond went so demonstrably is that Gobert had Klay in a headlock.
Yeah. Nipples were everywhere. 3 players got ejected from the game. Rudy Gobert, the guy who was in the headlock, after the game, he said Draymond Green behaved like a clown, which is not at all fair to clowns. I mean, if you had a birthday and the clown you hired came in and choked somebody, he wouldn't get suspended 3 parties. He'd be in a mental institution, right? Now, while we're on the subject of people who mental institutions, Donald Trump is doing everything he can to squirm his way out of trouble in New York. His lawyers today filed a motion calling for a mistrial. They claim the judge in the fraud trial is biased against him, which another judge biased against Donald Trump. What is this, the 10th biased judge now? This man has such bad luck. It's incredible. Trump was not in court today for once, so we decided to fill the gap. You know, from time to time, my trusty bailiff Guillermo and I hear real cases from small claims court with real litigants who bring their cases to Judge James.
This is the plaintiff, Zach Sinclair. He claims that while he and his wife Tiffany were off on their honeymoon, their roommates cleaned them out of house and home goods. He's suing for $750. These are the defendants, Derek Chen and Bonnie K. Wolf. They maintain that the missing items were not only given to them, they were infested with ants. It's the case of the Pilfered Pantry.
Raise your right hand.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They're actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims to have their case decided here by Judge James.
Here, Judge. The litigants have been sworn in your honor.
Thank you. Let's see what we have here. Zach Sinclair?
Yes, sir.
Zach, you're suing Derek Chen and Bonnie Kate Wolf for $750. You claim you and your wife Tiffany went on a 7-month honeymoon. You came home to find that your former roommate and his wife had cleaned everything out of your kitchen cabinets.
That's correct.
Derek, You say Tiffany told you you could have anything you wanted in the cabinets, and the reason you and Bonnie had to clear them out is because there was an ant infestation.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, we'll begin with the plaintiff.
Sure. So on May 8th last year, my wife and I left for our honeymoon.
Pardon me for 1 second. Everyone may be seated.
Oh, yeah, sit down. I always forget the part.
I know, you forgot that, right? Yeah, okay, all right. Anyway, go ahead.
So we left for our honeymoon. We traveled for 8 months. And
8 months?
8 months.
Wow.
That's a lot of months. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, it's like 8 of them.
So when we came home, we realized that a number of items were missing from our home. You mentioned the kitchen cabinets.
I believe we have some photographs.
Evidence locker.
We have a before and after photo of the pantry. Who took the before photo?
I did.
Why did you take a picture of the pantry?
I sent it to our new tenant, and I said that he could use these items to cook with because they were all mine.
Do we have the text messages?
I have that.
Yes.
Here, sir.
Thank you, darling. All right. You can eat all the food in the pantry, but there's nothing good in there. So you're suing them for the not good stuff that you're missing.
So saying that you can use the items to cook in the kitchen is very different than removing all of them from the home. And I think the legal term is conversion.
Please don't educate me on the law. I practically invented the word conversion.
Don't let it happen again.
So you're familiar with when somebody uses property for a purpose other than which they were granted?
Yes. You had to throw these out because there were ants on them.
Anything that we thought was salvageable, we left.
Let's talk about some of the non-perishable items here. There's a chip clip that's missing.
That's correct.
What happened to the chip clip?
I would imagine as there's also somebody else living in the house that he might be using it or borrowed it.
Yeah, it's interesting finger pointing. We've been living with this roommate since we returned from our honeymoon, and he is very private.
So private that he hoards chip clips in his room, perhaps?
I find that hard to believe.
I don't know. This might be out of my jurisdiction. I may have to refer this to the Supreme Court of the United States.
You think so?
This is a really heavy case. I mean, this is going to take every bit of my experience and intellect to rule on. Is there anything else that either one of you want to say before I go to my chambers and masturbate?
No.
We're all good.
I'll be back.
Will Judge James rule for the unhappy honeymooners or for the remorseless roommates? And why does this old lady look so familiar? Judge James' verdict when we return.
Attention, herbs and spices. Have you been abandoned only to be infested with ants and thrown away? Call the law offices of Weinstein and O'Brienstein. We give sage advice and won't waste your time.
Hey, mamma mia, Weinstein O'Brienstein got me $2 million. Grazie, Weinstein O'Brienstein.
Don't be assaulted or peppered. Call today.
These honeymooning homeowners claim their spices were stolen. These righteous renters claim there were ants in their pantry. And she's definitely from something. Judge James is about to rule. Let's listen.
I thought about this, dug pretty deep. Before I give a ruling, the lady in the back there, yes, you. Did you get punched in the face on the bus in Captain Marvel?
Evidence locker.
It's unbelievable.
It's her? Oh, yeah.
Oh, good work. Oh, and all your teeth are still in, huh? Well, listen, you know, I'm sure you guys are upset about the spices and all that stuff, but the fact of the matter is it's entirely possible that there were ants on them, and I wouldn't want ants on anything that I was going to eat either. And we do have a text that pretty clearly said you can eat all the food in the pantry, but there's nothing good in there. So I'm ruling in favor of the defendant. This is the chip clip.
That resembles it,
What
I
we're looking
suppose.
at. I would like you to affix this to the head of your penis so that you never have any children to bring these foolish cases to my courtroom. Dismissed.
All right, you guys are are killing me with these cases. So, all right, you guys go that way, please.
All right, Judge James has rendered his verdict. Let's first speak to the big winners, the defendants. Congratulations. You must be happy with the verdict, right?
Yes, I think we are.
Let's talk to the plaintiffs. I bet they're not as pleased with the result. Oh, look, they're all over each other. Well, let me ask you this. Judge James had recommended that you get a vasectomy. Are you going to clip that chip or no?
I think that's an aggressive solution for whatever he was suggesting.
All right, I think it's really good advice. All right, I'm done with you people. Go. I want to talk to the real star of the show. Come on in. This is the lady who, from the Marvel movie, yeah, Captain Marvel, you were punched by Brie Larson, right?
Yes.
I'm sure everyone's wanting to know this. What does Brie Larson's fist smell like?
On the next Judge James.
I'm Alexis. I'm sorry, best friend of Ferrari.
If you were the judge, how would you rule in this case?
You guilty.
This is some witness you brought along. Thank you. We do what we can for America.